Hello, it's Tom. I am the editor of the Popcorn Muncher, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm coming back after quite a few weeks, really, without making a video, because Coralie Fargeat's blood-soaked horror film Revenge has finally arrived on VOD platforms in the UK ahead of its DVD release next month. The film is one of my absolute favourites of the year, and it definitely deserves a few hours of your time. Revenge is part of one of the most difficult subgenres of horror cinema, the rape revenge film. It's a genre that has included notorious movies like I Spit on Your Grave, Deliverance with the late Burt Reynolds, and Wes Craven's very divisive The Last House on the Left. In the era of the Me Too campaign, though, it definitely bears questioning whether this genre has a place at all in 2018. Fargeat has proved that if it's done smartly, it still really can work. The story of this film opens with a helicopter approaching from the distance, showcasing the isolation of the secluded desert home where the action is initially set. It follows wealthy playboy Richard, who has brought along his mistress Jen for a few days of alone time before his mates turn up for a hunting trip. Jen is played by Matilda Lutz, who was previously in the terrible reboot of Rings. The mates turn up early, of course, however, and they decide to party together for a night before Lutz's character gets in a helicopter and goes home. This early material is shot with an almost comedic embrace of the male gaze. It's like Michael Bay reading a copy of Nuts magazine. That's the level we're at. Fargeat's camera sticks tightly to Lutz's body as we see everything through the eyes of the very leery and very beery male characters. So overt is this male gaze that it goes beyond sexualized and becomes simply uncomfortable. It drags the male gaze to its logical and horrible conclusion. And what follows is a truly shocking and harrowing sequence in which one of Richard's friends follows Jen to her bedroom and sexually propositions her, seemingly sure that she's attracted to him after she danced provocatively with him the night before. His comments about how she was dying for it the night before are a chilling evocation of the kind of logic used by horribly entitled dude bros and the very dangerous online incel community. And this makes the subsequent rape even more tough, horrifying, and ultimately real than it can feel in other movies. It's so rooted in gender dynamics that actually exist in our world. Now, I wrote a very detailed piece after Revenge came out in cinemas, focusing on the way Fargeat shoots the rape scene not to show anything explicit, and the way the scene serves as a fulcrum in the narrative, shifting the gaze from a male gaze to a female revenge gaze like you'd expect from a sort of rape revenge film. So please do go and read that piece if you're interested in further analysis of the gender dynamics in the story, because that's one of the most interesting elements about it. I'll put a link to my article in the description. But what follows in the story sees things only get worse for Jen. Richard's other friend had shut the door during the rape scene and went for a swim so he didn't have to hear what was going on. And Richard himself covers it up willingly when he returns from where he was. Jen, however, refuses Richard's offer of hush money, and he pushes her off a cliff, impaling her stomach on a jagged tree branch. What follows is a gruesome, visceral, and compelling game of cat and mouse. After Jen survives the fall, and as you'd expect in this genre, turns the tables on those who assault her. It's a cat and mouse chase, in which it's never quite clear which character is the cat and which is the mouse, because the gender dynamics are in a constant state of flux between the hunter and the hunted. Fargeat's sense of style is absolutely incredible, with her sun-baked, stark images providing a contrast to the down and dirty violence she's depicting. As a filmmaker of French origin, she's clearly influenced by the new French Extremity movement of the noughties that provided us with ultra-violent horror tales like Pascal Legier's Martyrs and Alexander Aja's tremendously titled, in the UK at least, Switchblade Romance. Revenge is a movie that explodes with cinematic craft and style, but also realises that sometimes horror fans just want to squirm as they watch a douchebag rapist struggle to pull an inch of jagged glass out of his foot. The violence is seldom cathartic for the audience, and the buckets and buckets of viscous crimson fluid prevent it from ever feeling all that real. But it is undeniably thrilling, and that is where Revenge chooses to pitch itself. It's an exquisitely crafted film, helped along by a selection of gritty and committed performances. Matilda Lutz, in particular, has done everything possible for me to wash off the stink of Rings, and she's done it by bathing herself in ammunition, gore, and the imprint of a phoenix from the beer can she uses to cauterize her stomach wound. Yeah, that's seriously what happens in this movie. Coralie Fargeat is obviously a genre force to be reckoned with in the horror world, and she has nailed the balance here between delivering a horror film that scares and grips its audience, while also having plenty to say about masculinity, not just in horror cinema, but in the world today as a whole. Revenge is a movie that is absolutely worth your time. So that's Revenge, which is out on VOD platforms like iTunes and Google Play right now, and it will also be out on DVD next month, I believe. If you've enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below to tell me all about how much you enjoyed it, and leave a like on the video. You can also find more Popcorn Muncher related content, including reviews, that article I mentioned about the gender politics. All of that stuff is at thepopcornmuncher.com. Also, please do follow us on social media. I'll put all of those links in the description as well. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.